I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas as low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I made that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with them. I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang, taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that should change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. Don't fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a raw, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
Your attention, please. Please do not smoke in the terminal building. Smoking is only permitted in the specified smoking areas.
Zach.
Thank you.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls wild. I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot, I make them shiver. Their knees get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like they're all night. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. That might girls. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. And folks, we've got a great one lined up for you, but I promise you, you are going to need a drink for this one. So let's go ahead and get into our communion ritual as we do. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who flied for our sins forever and ever. Also, fuck T-Jump, my religion's way better. You may drink. Fucking T-Jump. Y'all saw this debate. All right, y'all. And we got a little bit of a special treat for our communion song today. We'll mix it on up. This one's called Thank You for Being a Friend. Let's go.
Thank you for being a friend. Traveling down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off. Won't you stand up and take a bow? And if we threw a party and invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me. And the card and tap would say, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend.
All right, I got Crystal first.
If it's a car you like, I'll surely buy you a Cadillac.
10,000 pocket
You
change.
need any time of the day or night. I'm not ashamed to say I hope it always stays this way. My hat is off.
All right, I got Caterpillar second. 5,000 pocket change.
Oh, oh,
I got
close and say thank you.
I got vegetative state third. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It's 2,500 pocket change. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, State. Appreciate you.
You hear me call.
Cheers, gang.
As we ascend, I'll say your name. Then once again, thank you for being us. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being a friend. Listen to me. I wanna thank you for being. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. Help me out now.
Thank you right now.
I wanna thank you right now.
Friend, I wanna tell you
Gonna tell you my pal, but I'll tell you again. Thank you. Thank you. What you gonna say? Okay.
That was sweet. That was sweet. Nice little change of pace there. Appreciate y'all. That's one of my favorite songs ever. The song's awesome. That was fantastic drumming, by the way. Did you notice how you didn't notice? that's pocket locker shit right there. That's locking it in the pocket. In the groove, everything is tight. Play the goddamn song, and everybody think, what drummer? Exactly. Oh man, what is this gonna do when I do this? It's just gonna be like boop. Yeah. Hey, Nitty's up here. Nitty, you must be signed in on some funky ass account while it's treating you like a guest.
All right. Yes.
We are hanging out and gather as you already know we are. And we are in a very special location. Why? This is my tent. This is where I sleep every night and gather. This is a very intimate space right here. It's connected to the beach. It's wonderful. I take my little self off the bed every night, and this is my own little tent. It's got little different areas, little study area, my little desk area, my pinochle table, my pool table. I just added a little spotlight towel for Myron Bot. My little tea set up. All right. Nitty's in here. Stephanie's in here. Gang, I don't know what to tell you about what's coming up this evening. All I can tell you is you can keep that little smug. I don't know if y'all recognize that, but that's an Aaron Brown metaphor. That's my man Aaron. You can keep that little smug. We're about to deal with some of the smuggiest of the smug Christianness, and we're going to shit all over it. So I hope you had yourself a little something to drink, or even better, something to smoke. We're going to start with a little preview, one of their recent videos from 2 weeks ago. I haven't seen it, We just gonna watch it, and then I'm gonna show you this other video, which is the meat of today's rotted sandwich, as my main man Uncle Bobby would say. All right, Cousin Jay wants to wax about this dude because, you know, I need to relieve some stress. Moving is stressful, and I'm going to take my frustrations out on this poor man that I've never met. Life's a bitch, and then you die.
There are two sides to every
Oh, by the way, this channel, for those of you that care, is called Matthew Kelly. They got like 112,000 subs. I just think these guys are weird, but wait till y'all see the smugliest of the smugliness. All right, let's hear about this two sides nonsense.
story. So which side of the story are you on? You know, when they dragged Jesus before Pilate, they thought that Jesus' end was very near. When they watched him scourged, they thought, you know what? No man's going to be able to endure and survive this. But he did. When they crowned him with thorns, they mocked him, thinking that there would never be any retribution. And when
Nah, he didn't. See, the one part about Christianity that you got to get right is he didn't survive. You know, that's like that swoon nonsense. Listen. Anytime I meet a Christian from now, and I think there's one question you got to really ask them right away, up front, every single time. You lay it out like this. So Jesus, he was alive, then he was dead, then he was alive again. That's the whole message. That's the whole thing. It just bothers me, y'all. I'm going all the way in. I'm putting on my Christian ears and my atheist ears at the same time, and my Christian ears perk up anytime somebody says Jesus survived the crucifixion. No, he did not. No, he did not. It is the foundation of the faith that he was alive, then he was dead. I mean, dead, all the way dead for 3 fucking days. And then he was alive again. Just minor correction.
When he was sent out to Golgotha carrying a cross, they celebrated that their will was being done. When they nailed him to the cross, they thought they were going to be rid of him forever. When he mumbled from the cross, they
Lord, just, oh my goodness. Oh, Christians, do not threaten me with a good time. Can y'all just imagine if when they hung that man on the cross, that was the last we ever heard his ass? What a wonderful world this would be. Oh my goodness. All right, so another thing I gotta vent a little bit that's wrapped up in all of this is, did y'all see this debate between Aaron Ra and T-Jump, where T-Jump argued for the benefits of the religion? By the way, it was the worst shot video of a debate I've ever seen. It was the worst audio of a debate I've ever seen, and I don't understand why it even happened. But boy, T-Jump just... It was basically, the whole thing was, well, religion's good for religious people because the lies are great to them. So I'm just mad at, extra mad right now because, you know, now I got to deal with even more atheists saying stupid shit about religion. So it's not a good time right now.
And when he screamed out in agony, a man feels when
you
death
missed
is
it.
near.
Don't watch it. It's
They thought they
just
won.
not good.
But they were on the wrong side of history, weren't they? What they thought was the end was actually just the beginning. When the tomb was empty, they claimed it was fraud. But when they learned the truth, they tried to suppress it. When he started appearing to people, their illusions crumbled and they became very uneasy. When his followers rose up with courage and began telling his story wherever people would listen, their uneasiness became fear. And when they harassed his followers, they were met with peace, and they were perplexed. When they watched his communities living around love and respect and kindness and compassion and generosity, they were baffled. What's happening here? And when in the face of death, his followers showed hope, not fear, the persecutors became intrigued. They became amazed. They were astounded. Now, there are two sides to every story, right? There's the story of life, and then there's the story.
This story is just so weird. Christians, I just need you to listen to yourself. I know there are just so many Christians watching. They just stay up late at night waiting for me to stream. And they're just like, oh, I cannot wait to hear Pocket Locker stream because it always encourages me in my faith. But let me discourage you in your faith while we're at it. Just this story is weird. It is, okay, you have to start from a foundation of what you need to recognize in layman's terms is called Jewish blood magic. Okay? Just Christian, when you go to bed tonight, I just need those 3 words to resonate in your membrane. Jewish blood magic. You have this weird God who cannot forgive things. He cannot just say, you know what, little E. coli man, you fucking fell off the goddamn desk. I had to reach all the way over and pick you up, and it really pissed me off. But I forgive you because it turns out I'm the one who put you in that precarious situation to begin with. God, he can't do that. Somebody always has to build an altar and burn something, usually something that was alive, preferably an animal, right? And then there has to be blood. He needs the smell of the burnt offerings or whatever. And then you got, even back to, remember the whole Exodus story? What were they painting up above their doorways so that the curses passed over their homes? Bro, it wasn't fucking Revlon red, Corvette red paint. It was fucking blood. Because this is some weirdo God who's got a blood thing. He's got like a blood kink. And I don't want to kink shame, but I'm not into the blood like that. You understand? And Christians, y'all are into the blood. And when you tell us these stories about Jesus and you go on and on about what he sacrificed and how much meaningful it was and how it was the perfect plan and it was just the ultimate show of love, you sound like a very strange person. And believe it or not, I've thought about it. That is literally the nicest way I can say it. The nicest way I can say is this is weird. And it's okay. I used to be a Christian. We're going to set aside the shame I have for the fact that I used to be a Christian. But there's a lot of us out there, man. We're here for you guys. We used to be Christians. We understand, but we need y'all to just set aside. I know what it is. I think you've got to set aside the hope, meaning, and purpose for just a second. You have to be willing to just let go of the need for heaven or your fear, whatever it is, and just think about the claim. All right? And pretend it comes from another religion. Because I know if you just pretended it came from another religion, you would dismiss it really quickly, and then you'd see the problem. But I don't know, man. We got to start these guys with the outsider test of faith because they're noobs.
Story of death. There's the story of Jesus.
Oh, yeah, story of death.
Then there's the other side of the story. In the end, truth always triumphs. It always has and it always will. It's one of those natural laws that governs.
All right, here's another thing Christians need to stop doing. Stop talking about truth. This used to drive me crazy when I played for churches. I used to always want to have my little clicker. Where's my clicker? You can get it on your phone, but I have the actual clicker too. And I used to be like, you could sit there and count the number of times they use the buzzwords, and truth is a really good one. And just a sermon of, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes, whatever the pastor preaches on Sunday, sometimes a little longer. How many times they talk about truth? But y'all pay no regard to the truth. And sometimes I think there's to me, what I consider like a mistake of emphasis in the presentation. When I really think about the life I spent as a Christian, how emotionally felt I was attached to it, and the way most Christians get down, I just don't think they really need it. right? It seems to be more like the thing the preacher says a lot, or the thing the apologists insist on saying a lot. Like when you talk to most Christians, they don't just like insist on the truth of they're just like, yeah, this is what I believe, and da 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 da. So I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just a mistake because it's, you're inviting a discussion you don't really want to have, I guess, as I see it.
Universe. Now, sometimes does it take longer than we'd like? Absolutely it does. But truth always prevails. It always prevails, this side of heaven or the other. So which side of the story?
Thanks, Steph. I
That's the
appreciate you for
question.
being in gathering in the
You know,
chat
many people
here.
have wondered for a long time how the world got to be such a mess, how Christianity has seemed like it's lost its hold in the modern world. Well, the reason isn't that there are too many non-believers, too many people on the wrong side of truth, though that certainly is a tragic state of things. The real answer is that too many believers live as if they have one foot on each side of the story, right? So like one foot in unbelief and one in belief. One moment living and loving as if Jesus really did rise from the dead, and the next living as if they were the one who was in charge. They were the king or queen of the universe.
This is actually true. And Uncle Bobby would say being a Christian requires absolutely no follow-up. I was watching some Christian, and they were basically shitting on artists, like popular music artists who claim to be a Christian but then make music that's all about the fornication. And you know what? I get it. I get it. When I was a Christian, honestly, like, I didn't give a fuck. What happens was I like to find my own parameters of what was okay for me based on my interpretation of my relationship with Jesus, right? So I just carved out the right Christianity that fit just for me. And so I was like, fuck it, I could pretty much do what I want. Because, you know, God really doesn't care if I smoke weed. And God doesn't care if I have sex outside of marriage, because God knows how sexual I am, and also knows it's a bad idea for someone to marry me. So, like, you know, you just rationalize it and keep it moving. And I totally get how it, to people who take the sort of the honor code aspect of it all much more seriously, it's really frustrating. But at the same time, I think that's the time we're living in. There was this phrase that came up. God, I don't know what it was, like where it was, but it was that it's an emotional support ideology. And I think that phrasing is actually quite powerful. And I think that that's what Christianity has become for most people, an emotional support ideology. And interestingly enough, I think it manifests itself now as an identity. I think of it as literally like an ethnicity at this point. It's like a tradition, a custom. It comes with certain languages and you know, certain preferential treatment for people who at least signal that they're in the club. And I know it sounds, I think what happens is, because it plays as the majority narrative in our culture so often, I think it feels like the canvas upon which other cultures are painted. Like, oh, there's this, you know, vanilla white Anglo-Saxon Protestant and probably also Catholic, like, thing. That's the norm. And then everything else that is culture is what other people bring to the table to add color and spice and everything nice into the stew of America, right? But I'm like, nah, but take those people and put them anywhere else on the world where they're not the cultural norm, and trust me, motherfuckers will be like, y'all are weird. The way you dress is weird. The way you talk is weird. Your music is weird. The way your food customs, the things you add or don't add to your food is all weird to people. That your housing situation is weird. Like all of it's weird, but to us, it's just so. To me, like it's a culture. It's an ethnicity. It's like it's a thing. It's people. It's people's lived experience, and that manifests itself. I say all that to say it manifests itself for people in identity, and I think there is this inner tension within the faith between the cultural Christians, which is a place I worked myself into before I fully deconverted, and what you might consider the serious religious Christians and those who, you know, really do feel that they need to order their steps in the word. See how you could just jump into the language. That's a language. People don't talk like that. Normal people don't just say, "Yeah, I need to order my steps in the word." Everybody's like, yes, that's totally. What? What does that even mean? See, it's Christianese. It's a unique language. It's got its own thing, and that's the other thing they do is they take advantage of that, right? Because anytime you really talk about like I get annoyed when they say truth because I think it's just a brainwashing repetition thing. But if I jumped into it like, okay, so then how do you know what is true, right? At some point he would get around to basically just going with, well, I'm talking about biblical truth, and since I rest my foundations on the Bible, then blah 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 blah, right? And so that's the special language mechanism right there. They put biblical in front of it, or Christian in front of it, or spiritual in front of it, and then that does some like sleight of hand magic where all of a sudden they don't have to play by the same rules as everybody else.
When we look at today's gospel, I mean, Doubting Thomas gets a bad rap. He's called Doubting Thomas. I mean, sure, Thomas, he refused to believe that Jesus had risen from the dead. That was an unholy moment. And it would have been way better for him to believe without seeing as Jesus suggested.
This is true. I'm decided to reevaluate. Doubting Thomas is now the hero of the gospel narrative because he's the only one trying. He was like, nah. Doubting Thomas was like, nah, I'm not with it. Nah, I'm not buying this.
Once Thomas committed, I mean, that dude committed for life. Even if he faltered from time to time, the totality of his holy moments overwhelmed his unholy ones. The totality of him being on the side of truth and being on the side of belief totally overwhelmed his unbelief. That's the real story of Thomas. So I ask you to reflect
the real
today,
story.
reflect this weekend.
Doubting Thomas.
Do the totality of your holy moments overwhelm
Gold star to
your
that
unholy
guy.
moments? Or is it a bit of a wash? I invite you today, decide to put yourself on the right side of the story that's being written in your life, the side of truth with both feet. Put yourself on the side of holy moments. Put yourself on the side of Jesus. Always, everywhere, in everything, no matter the cost.
And no matter the cost. See, I love when they really punch it up at the end, y'all. They got to drive that shit home. Because look, this is the real tension, man. And I got to be honest, I feel for Christians on both sides because I think I've really identified with both sides. Like, I'm going to tell y'all some shit that's funny. Coming up, man, the thing I hated the most was the notion of like a fake Christian. Like, yo, like, I could not stand the idea of people who just like, if you just went to church like on Christmas, Easter's, Mother Day, whatever, no, you're not, no, you don't even count. Nope, not giving it to you. Nope, no, that's not gonna cut it. And then even if you were just like one of them like, oh, you know, when I can make it, when I feel like it once, nope. Sorry, just the way I was brought up. You're not about that life. You're not understanding. There's no weeks off. There's no fucking time off. There's no if you feel like going to church, if you've got enough to tithe, if you want to. What? Nah, fake Christian. Get up out of here. It's a fake Christian. I'm sorry, it's a fake Christian. No, really. I'm just sorry. That's just how I saw it. I'm just being real. I'm not proud of it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's how I saw it. Really, I was like, softy, get up out of here. Get that softy up out of here, bro. Because that's how I saw a lot of people. They were just using it for the warm feelings and blah, blah, blah. They wasn't about ordering their steps in the word, y'all. All right? And then I got to a time where I realized, man, those people are crazy, man. And you're kind of just trying to hang on to the identity and the customs and keep it cool. Like, you're not trying to do anything crazy, like come up out your face and tell people you're not a Christian. You're like, no, I'm not. And you're not, But at the same time, you don't want to be seen as one of those Christians, you know what I'm saying? The real serious ones that you can't do nothing around, can't say nothing around. So, you just become it's just kind of your identity. Hey, you're a Christian. Maybe, you'd rock a cross necklace once in a while if you saw one that was cute or something. I don't know. Once you like some Jesus music, go to church on Sunday if you feel like it. You know what I mean? Like it's all good, Like that was me, man. Look, I play drums at the church, dog. You know what I mean? So when I get to heaven, I'm like, look, God, just been kind of in the employ for a minute. You know what I mean? Hey, man, just trying to do what I could do for the people. All right, man, I'm holla at you. But them two type of Christians don't really want nothing to do with each other, right? Because on the one hand, you see these cultural Christians as they're not really making the sacrifices. And I think there's a little bit of like, what's up with them? Like, are they just going to be good to go too? Like, I'm out here living my entire life, making all these sacrifices to live the Christian life for real. And then here they are, just throw their hands up once in a while, a couple times a year. Oh, yeah. I love Jesus. And what, they saved just like me? Like, nah, I don't think they really feeling that. And then at the same time, the more cultural Christians is like, look, y'all out here, man, fighting all these culture wars, trying to build a theocracy, falling into all these conspiracies, waiting for Jesus to try to come back and all of this type of shit. Like, y'all, they kind of think they're giving cultural Christianity a bad name. You know what I mean? Christianity now is supposed to just be like, you believe in Jesus in your heart or whatever. You're like a good neighbor. You have family values. It's not supposed to really have to be all this other stuff. So I really do think that this video kind of reflects the inner turmoil going within the faith. All right, but let me serve y'all up exactly why we're talking about this asshole to begin with, which is this video that I gotta tell you, my homegirl Carrie Ann dropped this on us. I'm pretty sure this was one Carrie Ann found for me and sent me, like, look at this asshole. He'll think this is fun. So yeah, shout out to Carrie Ann for sending this. All right, but y'all check this out. This fool made a whole video called The Christian Superiority Complex. All right, it's from a while ago, but we're going to watch it today. Check it out.
Christian, or in the words of today's gospel, how do you know if you are keeping Jesus' word? In today's day and age, it is common to describe a Christian as someone who is nice, or to define the Christian life with the word kindness. Those things are good, no doubt. You should be nice and you should be kind, but the thing is, a world of nice people doing acts of kindness with their backs turned on God would be just as much in need of saving as a miserable and greedy one. And it may be even more difficult to save. So being nice and kind, they aren't enough to qualify fully as signs of keeping Jesus' word. So what is? And it's a question I am
peep the smugness.
Really interested in exploring right now in my life.
You're
because
so smug.
I've started to develop this sense that something in my life is, well, it's out of line with the gospel. And I'm not sure what it is, and so I'm not sure what to do about it. I started doing some reading, searching for an answer, and I came across something from
All right, here's a problem, and I had to call this out. I'm never impressed anymore where I hear Christians talk about their homework, their research, their reading, any of that. Like, I'm sorry, but going to the science section of the Christian bookstore does not count as learning about science. All right, replace science with any other subject and the same thing applies. No. I remember, like, I just feel like they go out of their way looking for answers to reinforce their stuff. And I don't know why they think people don't see that. That's the thing that scares me. All right, what part of the thing that gets me, right, y'all, is that I was a Christian, and there are some people who I know or not that were in my life that were like really big influences on me. And I said a lot of this dumb shit to them, and apparently they just let it slide. And it's just so funny because now I hear it and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I used to say shit like this to people. But I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. This is my channel, y'all. I'm being honest. Like I'm never impressed with the Christian homework. Like I'm just not. Like right off. Yes. I discredit it. I don't care what follows. I'm not interested. If you're a Christian and you went to do your homework about some shit and you're still a Christian, you didn't do it. You didn't do that process correctly. You messed up somewhere in your process. You took a wrong turn somewhere because you did not come out any better than you started.
That has done nothing
Defeats
short
the purpose of education. It's literally anti-impressive. I'm unimpressed.
Sheen writes that to be a Christian is to be someone who is superior. If you're like me, then you might
keep
recoil
that
at the
little
word
smug.
superior, right? Like, isn't superior a word that means domination over others? You know, doesn't
This
it
is the
lead
best.
to boastfulness
This
and
is the
egotism
best.
and self-will? And,
Get honest with this,
and even
baby. Tell us
cruelty.
how you really feel.
But to Sheen, when Jesus said, "Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect," he was saying a Christian is someone who strives for self-perfection in the spiritual and moral life in such a way that they live spiritually and morally superior to the standard of their times.
Okay, here's the thing we're going to have to clarify for a lot of Christians. First off, what the fuck is spiritually? You guys just dance all up in these fucking issues that you have not demonstrated to be real, bro. Like, you just need to wake up, bro. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Look, I'm going to take this to a place a lot of atheists don't like to go, but y'all know me. I do not believe in anything supernatural at all. I am not about the woo-woo. I'm not about the spiritual mumbo-jumbo. If I tell you my soul is filled with wonder and my spirit is filled with pleasure, I am telling you about my goddamn mood, and I am trying to be expressive and poetic with my language, and you need to grow the fuck up. All right? So look, check it, bro. Nobody knows what you're talking about. And morally, yes. Here's an idea. If you want to live morally, oh, y'all, we're about to say my favorite words. You need to stop being a Christian. Oh, man. Oh, I'm so glad I did this stream just because it gave me an opportunity to say, I gotta say that again. If you want to live morally, oh, here's the favorite. This is the best punchline ever. You need to stop being a Christian. Oh, fuck. Yes, gang. It's time we tell these people, look, let's be honest. We're atheists. They already think terrible things about us. If they're going to think whatever they're going to think about us when we tell them they're atheists, at least let's make it worth it, y'all. Let's get our shot in there. If you are going to judge me as however you are going to judge me for being an atheist, before you do, let me tell you, you need to stop being a Christian. I said it. Go ahead and hate me. You can hate me now, bump, 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 but I can't stop now, bump, 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 and I won't stop now, bump, 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 bump. You can hate me now, Woo! I gotta get another hit of this drink real quick. That whiskey's being good to me tonight, yo. Oh, you need to stop being a Christian. Bro, look. Christians, let me give it to you, Christians. I'm gonna do it again, y'all. Because a lot of y'all atheists out there still having this debate, and that's fine. Y'all like to debate and all of that. I get it. It's cool. Everybody has their thing. But look, I'm giving it to Christians, you have an objective standard for your morality. Your morality is based on a standard greater than you. Yes, you can have that. No debates here. But that's what makes you a fucking monster. And that's why you need to stop being a Christian. Because your objective standard for morality thought it was great to drown the whole world. Your objective standard for morality thought it was a good idea to genocide motherfuckers. Your objective standard for morality was like, I have an entire book of my holy word that humanity needs to live by. And rather than it saying, thou shalt not own people, it included an instruction manual with the motherfucking bylaws and the fucking mechanisms for a properly functioning slave economy up in this bitch. Are you serious? Yes, Christians, congratulations. You have an objective standard from your morality, and that's why you need to stay your scary asses all the way over there. Fuck up out of here.
Essentially, a Christian is someone who lives above and beyond what everyone else is doing, you know? And while compelling, I still felt uncomfortable with the word superior. I've met too many unfortunate people who call themselves Christians.
Too terrifying.
Who place themselves on a pedestal in order to judge and condemn those below them, and to flaunt their self-perceived superiority over others. But that's not what Sheen meant.
Oh,
and I read further,
great.
and read further, and I came across these words. Sheen writes, no personality is expressed on the average level. The development of a spiritual personality is in going the extra mile and challenging conventional morality. If someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 of your own accord. All
right, bro, here's a challenge for Christians that want to seriously do this, Christians. If you want to go the extra mile with your morality, I'm about to tell you some shit that I think you should take really seriously. And I'm not even going to fuck with you. I'm not going to be there. Are you ready, Christians? Hear me out. Y'all gonna love this, Christians. This is gonna be your fucking chance, Christians, to go that extra mile, baby. I'm with it. Woo! Christians about here. Y'all ready to go the extra mile, Christians? All right, here's how you go the extra mile. See, what you're going to do is you're going to look around in the society that you're in, perhaps maybe, I don't know, like the United States of America. That's what you're going to do. You're going to look at all the problems we have with social issues. Yep, just going to take a look. Where's the suffering at? Which groups are suffering, who's having a hard time right now. And then you are going to challenge the role of the church in creating that suffering. Amen, hallelujah, Christians. Woo, baby, it's time to go that extra mile. That's right. It's time to speak up about all that abuse going on in these churches. And no, I'm not talking about the Catholic Church. I'm talking about all the denominations that are having scandals. Amen, hallelujah. I am talking about the war against the LGBTQ community. Amen, hallelujah. How much of that, Christians, is coming from the churches? Y'all gotta go. It's time. Come on, Christians. Like he said, y'all gotta go the next step. Y'all gotta go the extra step in y'all morality. Y'all gotta demonstrate that y'all are really willing to take these steps, because or else how you gonna be fucking superior? Y'all talking, how the fuck you gonna be superior when you haven't figured out women are equal? Literally, most of y'all are still telling women to make their husbands the head of their life as Jesus is the head over the church. That's not how you raise a family, fam. That's why y'all getting this shit fucked up. Bro, go talk to some black people. We will all tell you, bro. You know what women do? Yeah, they run the whole house and everything, bro. Yeah, what are you talking about? No, grandpa like a second. You want some shit done, you go talk to grandma up in this bitch. What is wrong with y'all? The woman is make the man the head of your life as Jesus. What the? That's never been how humans, no. Just fucking no. That's just not how this works. They still have not figured that shit out. Y'all still have not figured out that what do you do about the LGBTQ issue? Absolutely fucking nothing, because there is no issue. Come on now, Christians. We're going to need y'all to take charge for that shit. Christians, did y'all know there are more people living in slavery today than at any point in human history? Y'all know slavery's not over? Human trafficking is a bitch. Y'all about to take care of that though, right? Because y'all gonna look around and figure out how much is the church playing a role in all this, and y'all gonna jump right on it. You're going to jump right on it. Aren't you, Christians? You're going to jump right on it. That's ridiculous. When y'all really lead the charge against some slavery, when y'all really lead the charge for equality, Christians, y'all know what I hate more than anything on this planet? COVID-19. Can you say it with me? COVID-19. Say it. COVID-19. Say it with COVID-19. Now, how y'all gonna look around and we're gonna determine how much of this unnecessary COVID spreading around was caused by the church, and we're gonna speak out against that, right, Christians? Because we're gonna take the next steps because you're superior, right? Superior morale, better than the rest of them. Y'all supposed to take God and then do better than everybody else. That's what superior mean, don't it?
Of our age is in want of great men and women. I finished reading that and pretty sure I couldn't speak for a few hours. I had to let the weight of his words just kind of pour over me for a while. The weakness of our age is not want of great men. It's a want for me to be a great man and for you to be a great man or woman. Let me ask you a few questions. How much of your life is stalled in mediocrity? How much of your spiritual potential goes unrealized every day? When was the last time someone asked you?
Sorry, it just bothers me. Every time I hear a Christian say man or woman, I'm just now like, no, you're just being deliberately obtuse about what's going on in the world right now. So I can't hear it. Like, this is what I mean. Y'all supposed to do better. You're supposed to do better than the rest of us. The rest of us have figured out not everybody's a man or a woman. Why haven't y'all? When are y'all gonna do better? When are we going to be able to look to the Christians for a sign of what to do instead of fucking dragging the Christians along every single goddamn time?
Go a mile. And you went 2. My answers to these questions, they disturb me. Because the truth is, there are some ways in which I keep God's word, and some ways that I have traded the greatness of God's way for the world's crummy, subpar, selfish, nonsensical, ridiculous, mediocre way.
Oh my goodness. This hatred of the world. Tell us you hate humanity without telling us you hate humanity. Listen, folks, I'm a pessimist. I will literally tell people I'm a pessimist. I believe optimism without sufficient reason to be optimistic is foolish, okay? And I see a lot of reason to not be optimistic around me. But I am still not on some shit where I'm like, the fucking world's ways are petulant and wrong and like they hate life. They hate life. This is miserable. Just listen to this. Listen.
Time someone asked you to go a mile and you went 2. My answers to these questions, they disturb me. Because the truth
They
is,
do disturb me.
there are some ways in which I keep God's word.
Here
In
it
some
comes.
ways that I have traded the greatness of God's way for the world's crummy, subpar, selfish, nonsensical, ridiculous, mediocre way.
Selfish, crummy, subpar, mediocre, ridiculous. Like, bro is just literally trying to create a free association word cloud of bad words. Just he's like, let me think of all the negative, emotionally charged words I can use, and then describes just the world with it. The world. Like literally, and let's be clear about what they mean when they say the world. They mean everything. They literally mean everything that is not God. Everything that is not of God. Everything that is not filled with his essence, aka everything that's fucking ever existed ever or will ever exist ever. To them, it's just fucking lost. And what is so sad is, at least for me, is I feel for the people like this because I see the brainwashing right away. Right? This is how they do it to them. They convince them that there is this God that is so perfect and above everything and charged with all of the positive emotions. And then they constantly contrast it with the world, which is everything outside of the presence of God. And they demonize the fuck out of it. Well, what does that do? Well, then any time that they even ponder a doubt or a challenge or a critique of the faith, then they immediately associate that with all of those negative emotions that have been associated with the world, because of course they recognize if you were to challenge their idea, then they would be left with the same fucking world that everybody else is living in that doesn't worship their God. And so in the end, they would have to admit to themselves that they are no better than that world. And that's the trick. You put the world, it's like fucking racism works, it feels like, right? Because that's how I always felt racism, was you create a class of people that no matter how fucked up your life is or how bad things are, oh, at least you're not one of them, you know? And that's what they've built the Christian idea on, is that everything in the world is so fucked up and toxic and tragic and selfish and subpar and ridiculous and absurd and insane and deranged, and you have to be a fucking psychopath to even be of the world. So then obviously they're not going to be able to examine their beliefs critically and evaluate the claims in light of the best evidence, because they know that if that house comes crumbling down, they're left with the world like the rest of us.
I give money as the world gives, safely. I spend too much of my time the way the world spends too much of its time, with my head in my phone. My days are like the days of the world, an all-out sprint, full of busy, without intentional time for silence or solitude, as often as I should have silence or solitude.
I read a
or at least as often as my
book,
soul
one book.
needs. I love as the world loves, exclusively to those who love me back. And I forgive as the world forgives, conditionally. My list goes on. And as I sit here, I find myself in that beautiful but piercing place, an unresolved place we sometimes get to in life. Okay, I'm in pain over the awareness of just how far I am from who I could be. But I'm also full of hope that somehow this gift of awareness combined with the grace and power Jesus promises in the Holy Spirit will lead me to becoming superior to who I was yesterday. Today, I challenge you to have the courage to make your own list. Write down the ways that you keep God's word and the ways that you don't. And then together, let's turn our back on the ways of the world. Let's turn our back on the ways of the world in a way that is final and forever. And run without fear or hesitation toward the superior ways of God.
Gang. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is so culty and gross. I told you the SMUG was gonna be deep. I told you the SMUG was gonna be deep with these guys. Hey, Nitty.
So he said something that makes me want to speak up.
Go ahead.
So he said, I'm so aware of how I am not the person I could be. Now, this is a way that when I was deconverting and deconstructing and leaving my culty ass church, this is a way that cult groups or authoritarian groups use language and the valuation of yourself to constrain you, to keep you in their paradigm, to keep you lacking. It's a way to manipulate a human being into continually believing that they are inadequate and that their goal can never be reached. I mean, think about it. The Christian goal is to be more Christ-like. Well, what is Christ to them? It's perfection. It's never lacking something good. But we're humans. We just can't do that. So I call it the holy hamster wheel. Get aboard, motherfucker, because you're on it for your whole life and you're going to get exhausted. You're going to abuse yourself, deny your worth as a person, and view yourself more often in light of your mistakes and your inadequacies than the things that you are capable of doing, that many humans are capable, the things that you are doing without some fucking spirit piloting your brain stuff. So, yeah, it just makes me sad.
I this is one of the things that bugs me, to be honest, when I hear people talk about religion in a very compartmentalized way. I get it as a social out, right? There's a way, like, if let's say you were a Christian and we met at a party and you know, it just came out that I was an atheist and you were a Christian, and you know, there would be an out for me to just be like, well, look, I'm sure you're a great guy, and you know, if your faith doesn't, you know, have a negative influence in the world, then I'm good with that. You know, hey, I'm sure you're the type of guy, if my lawnmower broke down and I needed to borrow yours so I didn't get a citation from the city, I'm sure you'd lend me your lawnmower, you know? I'm sure you're a great neighbor. And I get that, but I've always felt like that's a selfish response. And that's selfishly on my end, right? Because I always thought I was a super reasonable Christian, right? Like even now I see myself as a super reasonable Christian, right? Like I was an ally. I was very progressive. I just wasn't on the fucking bullshit tip. I just fucking believed in Jesus. But that was like the perfect excuse for everybody to like not let me know what's up, right? To like never challenge my faith because it was never going to be a problem for them or anybody else as they saw it, right? But that doesn't mean that I wasn't going through that inner turmoil, that I wasn't on that hamster wheel, that I wasn't constantly trying to figure out what being a Christian really meant and what I was supposed to do. Matter of fact, even the way I deconverted, it really started from trying to understand who Jesus was as a human being, because I was so frustrated with the church's inability to like connect me with the human Jesus that I felt like I was supposed to be following, right? And to your point, like, I think if people were honest about that, it's never enough, right? If you're going to church every week, that's not enough because you're supposed to be in a small group and you need to be spending time daily with the word, and you always need to be praying more or reading the word more or serving the church more. Oh, are you giving the offerings to the church when you have an extra buck or two? No, you're supposed to be tithing. And if you're fucking tithing, you're supposed to be giving offerings in addition to tithing. And I hope you don't think you're going to pay your way to heaven, because it's like, it's never enough. And then you get into the thought space, right? It's not enough that you're not cheating on your wife. You had a quick thought about the attractiveness of another woman in the church, who, by the way, is very fucking sexually attractive, so it'd be pretty hard not to, right? but you're never gonna be good to go because you're not able to not have that thought, right? Like, it's so, I wish people would take that more seriously. We don't deal in a world of religions that don't have an effect on how people interact in the world, because they do. They vote based on it. They decide who should be in their lives based on it. They decide how they should live, how they spend their money, everything based on it. And then even if we could isolate it to just that person, I don't know of a religion that is, in the majority space that we're talking about, that doesn't demand so much of a person. And that's what I realize is true even of the woo-woo. Right? If you have somebody in your life that says, like, let's say they're into like essential oils or alternative medicines, there's going to come a time when them or somebody in their life is going through something and they're going to be like, let me tell you all about what the essential oils do for me, or let me tell you about how I use mint leaves when I was going through COVID, or whatever the fuck, right? They're all like, of course, if they believe in it, then they're going to encourage other people to reap the rewards of their thing. So yeah, I'm really glad you spoke up on that, Nitty. Stephanie, did you want to say anything? Or also I was going to let Nitty, I want to see if Nitty had anything else to say about this too. Steph, I can't hear you, Steph.
I'm just entranced by the notion of what if the Romans had used a hamster wheel as a means of execution? Would every church in the world be covered in shavings and?
That's
well, I'm thinking of like how the Passover play would go. It would be a little more child appropriate. They would just be like running.
I imagine death by that type of physical exhaustion is probably one of the worst ways to go.
Yeah, dehydration and just flopping around on the wheel.
Yeah.
Well, I think chat wheel of fuck you.
Wheel of torture, right? Yeah, man.
Anyway,
but it's true. You're always on it.
Yeah.
This guy's awful.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah. What an asshole.
I loved your like altar call for Christians to like, well, do shit.
Yeah, I'm always waiting for God to make Christians better than the rest of us. Like
in 2016, before our favorite Oompa Loompa unfortunately won a thing, I was thinking, like, what is with all these Christians who are supposed to love the other, not wanting the others around?
Right.
What's going on with that? Borders? Right. No, let them come in. Hear the gospel. Come on, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I think that's
Don't you want our influence on them?
I think it's a very fundamental instinct that challenges people, right? I think even as a youngster, right, in high school, like you don't have to get very old before you decide that, oh, there's this thing called border policies, and there's these very different feelings about, you know, I think it's great when I meet people from all over the world without having to travel all over the world. And other people are clearly not having it. And yeah, it is one of those things where you see the Christians doing it a lot. Even the whole, like, even when I was a Christian and I was someone who thought abortion was morally problematic, which I don't anymore. I never thought that being anti-abortion was like the way to go about it, right? I always saw it as like, you need to just provide, I don't know, like people need better lives or whatever. Like I never saw it as like, oh, let's go demonize these people or make this illegal. Like I just mean that there's a lot of this, I think, social instincts along the way. And I don't know.
I was more in favor of holistic care. You know, like figure out the systemic reasons that people would want to go through a procedure like that, right?
Yeah.
Not to talk about it so coldly and like, you know, tacitly, like it's very serious for everyone who needs that healthcare. But I thought it was just too simple to just make it law of the land without actually having compassion and understanding for people who may need it even medically, right? Like a woman just took the stand in Texas, I believe, today, before their state representatives, to talk about how she almost died because she couldn't get the correct procedure because it was defined medically as an abortion. Like, so this like, you know, overly simplistic definition of, you know, and these overly simplistic definitions of life and conception and birth, it needs to get all the way off the cliff. Like, just get it out of here. Just start over.
I just never. Yeah, so I never got. I think I never got the social instincts. I think that's a big thing. Go ahead, Steph.
Where were the Christians when the Japanese were being relocated in the United States?
Yeah, that's
away from California. Where were the Christians when the United States was turning away Jews trying to escape extermination in occupied Europe and in Nazi Germany? Where were they? What were they doing? What were they thinking? Not my house.
Right.
Not my problem.
Not my lawn, not my city.
Not they
here.
won't come for me. Where are the Christians now for women in Texas and Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana and all across all of these states? Where are they now? Where are the Christians for me? Where are the Christians for my people who are being torn away from any sort of meaningful health care?
Yeah.
Where are they? Where are the Christians?
Yeah.
Where's the good? Where's our good Catholic president? Where is he? He has our backs. Our backs are against the fucking wall at this point. This is no longer a joke.
Right. I 100% agree. And
so
I think that what I'm getting at is I think there's a social instinct that I'm starting to think maybe in some people is the seed of, if not deconversion, at least doubt, because you have some sort of stronger instinct to find the truth, whatever it may be, some sort of stronger instinct to do what's right when what's right seems to be clear. And then I think that you observe, at least for me, like when it finally hit me, And I finally realized the double downs and twisted logic. I realized that the Christians were on the wrong side of everything. On the wrong side of everything, right? Like every social issue was, and I had my own thing, which was, for me, it was like the war on drugs, because I was into like cannabis reform. And I remember how frustrating it was that Christians brought into the prohibition narrative and not the harm reduction narrative. And I was just like a thing. I was like the president of the Normal, the National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws at Penn State. So I just think people have their different things, in addition to race and all these other issues, right? But that was one that stood out to me as more difficult for Christians to see what the right thing was than it should have been, right? Because like my own family, I think, gave me such a hard time about using. I think that's probably where it came from. And I was always like, if if it wasn't for people like you being like this, this whole thing would be totally different. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of think that now. Like people use their religion or lack thereof maybe to reflect their social and interpersonal stance more so than anything, right? And I think for some of us, we feel like it's loyalty to the human cause above all else. And then for others, it seems to be loyalty to the particular religious narrative above all else. And at some point, you start to see how immoral that makes people time and time and time again.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie, you mentioned where was the church in Germany. There's this fantastic lecture I put in the Gather chat about the Aryan Jesus and the role of Nazi propaganda in the church. Yes. They remade their Bibles and redistributed them throughout the country to be more anti-Semitic than they already were.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. They confiscated the old ones.
God
made a bunch of new ones.
Yeah, and even now, like Steph, I think with what you're talking about, like I think with the trans issue right now, I think it's a religious narrative that motivates, at least from my perspective, a lot, if not most of this issue, and it seems to me. Well, I shouldn't say that, right? Because we've been dealing with a lot of fucking bigots on atheist side.
Yep, I honestly don't think it is.
That's something that's been I'm learning. I'm still learning that part, right? Because that's all a bit newer to me, but it's been quite a lot. It's quite overwhelming.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Lena.
I just got off work and I was I received 2 apologies from 2 different customers today for misgendering me.
I'm glad to
presumably hear that. Only because of the way that I reacted, which was just kind of to turn off the customer service facade. And I mean, I accepted their apologies and I was grateful for that, and I told them as much. But just thinking back on it, it's like, okay, yeah, neither of them affirmed my gender. I've actually never been affirmed in my gender at work. I know that my community is predominantly Christian. And I just, from every Christian I've engaged with who like is supposedly an ally, I just doubt it. I don't think that they really understand us in any regard, or trans people in any regard. I think that they simply don't want to exterminate us like the other Christians do, and obviously that's a good thing. But I think it's really important that we recognize where our real allies are, and I don't think there's any within Christianity.
Sure, and then I guess we should just also add there's also a problematic proportion of atheists that are also on the same tip, some more so than others. Which has been. Go ahead.
I don't think people escape the acculturation that is Western society that was so deeply framed by the Christian faith over many centuries. I mean, it's baked into the culture. So a lot of these poisonous ideas come from Christianity and come from a Christian patriarchal worldview that people are accustomed to. Be it racism, be it racism mostly comes from European Christianity,
in particular.
but they're not believers, therefore they're inferior. But European Christianity had a little bit of an encounter with Islam over time, so at least they sort of had that. But with other cultures, no idea. But I think it's baked in, and I think that a lot of atheists have a hangover from that, and don't see the connection. A lot of people will deconvert from Christianity and reevaluate their views on a lot of stuff, but it's by no means a universal in that sense.
And that's what I mean. Like the guys, so say the guys that we were watching. I say guys, it's really that one guy, but the Matthew, the actual channel name, the Matthew Kelly's some different guy. I think that guy's name is Jack, and I think Matthew Kelly is some other gentleman who runs the channel. But and I don't know. Carrion just showed me this video, and I found them interesting. But here's my thing: they go on the whole thing about moral superiority, and I just got to call a spade a spade. I heard the dog whistling of traditional family values, and to me, I count on people like that at this point to not be pro-LGBTQ, at least not vocally or not in a way, you know what I mean? Like they're not going to go against the grain in their own congregations or whatever that might be. And I just, it's like I'm not even going to play that game because to me, what I took some encouragement from with the George Floyd situation, and quite frankly, the way racial issues have been covered since, not completely, but people noticed because the way his murder happened with the social media, with the being on camera and the way everything played out, people took notice. The whole world took notice. And at least to me, that's what it felt like, right? There was protests all over the globe and people wanted reform, and it was kind of dope. And obviously, as I'm like I'm one of those. I'm like, yo, I'm black, man. Racism's on the table all day, every day. So I'm certainly not content with the way it's covered, but I feel a change in tone of the way these issues are covered, even primarily in the mainstream media, since then, because it feels like an awareness of the times. And to me, if you're not, again, and I said this on, I guess, Gur's stream it was, but I'll say it on my stream, if you're not actively, vociferously pro-trans right now, you're on the wrong side of history because they're making this an everyday issue. And it's so there's no like Lena said, there's no like, oh, well, I'm sitting in the congregation and I'm not myself personally calling for the extermination of trans people. No, if you're not seeing what's happening every day and being like, fuck all of this, there's something wrong with you and you're part of the problem at this point. Yeah.
Yep, that sums it up nicely, I think.
Even William Lane Craig actually released a podcast on trans stuff today.
That was
Really?
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, on Reasonable Faith, he likened medical treatment of trans youth to alcohol and drug laws. So that's cute.
What? So he was
saying that we restrict access to alcohol to minors.
my goodness.
So we need to restrict puberty blockers to minors to protect them.
Yeah, that's
except if they're cis.
right.
If they're cis, they're okay.
Yeah.
You know, no breast augmentation or reduction for trans people, but cis people, that's fine.
Yeah, go nuts.
Absolutely.
Make them bigger.
I mean,
them
it's
smaller.
specifically written into the Utah law. Specifically written. There's an exemption if you're cis.
That is crazy. That is
it's not crazy. It's targeted.
Yeah,
They
it's targeted.
don't believe that they don't believe trans people are real. They don't believe it. They don't
Also-
believe it is. They don't believe it as if they don't hold out the possibility of people being transgender.
I just don't believe in the fucking
believe it.
system. Like I don't like I just don't like I don't have any faith in a fucking system where something like that can even come to a fucking vote. Like if something like that can come to a fucking vote,
The Mormons like their young women stacked, so therefore,
shit's bad.
Well,
Shit's
the other
bad.
thing that was said during that podcast was that Craig views the what's the word I'm looking for? The mental, like the psychological symptoms, the depression and the suicide. He views that as, oh, well, transgender is gender dysphoria, so it's a mental illness,
Nope.
and we should treat it as such.
Yep. It's just
And I was like,
doesn't get it. Just doesn't get it. Just no, he does.
Dysphoria, the gender dysphoria is the thing that's in the DSM. Being transgender is not an illness.
Right.
The incapacity is the dysphoria, and the dysphoria is the dysphoria can be treated. The way to treat the dysphoria is transition.
Right. Right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
And it's been within the medical industry, within the medical profession, it's been tried other ways. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked other ways.
Right. Absolutely.
And I worry that, I don't at all mind being trans. It's fine. It's just another way of being, and it's hard to get through the steps. It's a lot easier when you're younger, but there's a pathway for people to live fulfilling, good lives if you'll let them.
Yeah.
But
This
people
is
just don't want it. I mean, people are losing their minds about a woman who came in 6,050th in the women's division. She ran the London Marathon. It was a dream of hers to do. She, there were 6,000 plus people in front of her, but she ran the damn thing, and she was front page news in England. And she got a crawl on Fox News yesterday, because she was 6,000th something, and she was trans. People lose their minds just because.
Yeah, this just
They just don't want us to be.
yeah, this is it's an extermination campaign. Coffee, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Pocket Locker? Hey, man. I don't know if you're familiar with the name. I've heard it before, but the same. What's up, man? Usually, people associate me with psychedelics, so I don't know if you've heard about that.
Oh no.
You ever try them?
Yeah, back in the day.
I'd like to advocate for the psychedelic therapy that's being researched right now.
You heard about the
depression and MAPS
studies where like they dose atheists and the atheists can no longer identify with atheism after the experience?
No, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Man, I can probably link you that, man.
I've heard a lot of reports of that.
That's funny to me. That doesn't really bother me because I think that psychedelics open up things, right? And I think if you have your mind open up to aspects you're not used to, it's gonna make you think a lot more things are possible. So that doesn't necessarily bug me. Although I think it would be an effect of the psychedelics. It's weird because I had my psychedelic experiences like when I was like college age, and I don't know. They didn't deconvert me or anything, but they also didn't stop me from deconverting later. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, the studies they use. I don't know if you're familiar with Terence McKenna's bailiwick, but he talks about a heroic dose. So like they're giving,
you could like something for
getting
real.
volunteers. They're getting volunteers a really high dose. So it's not like recreational. So like if you had a college times I went to a party, usually you're taking a recreational dose because you want to be able to walk around and still enjoy yourself. At this dose range, you're not gonna be able to walk around. You're not gonna be able to.
Yeah. So what do you think? So what do you think's going on there?
Well, I mean, I was influenced by Terence McKenna even before these. I heard caught wind of these studies. So like, when I heard about the heroic dose, I had experienced it as a teen. Like I took a cap or two during my teens, but then when I heard him talk about the heroic dose, I'm like, what's that about? And so it took me about 2 years to find a guy that had some. I'm like, hey man, I need 5 dried grams because that's the supposed dose range.
Sure.
And man, I mean, I identified with atheism prior to this event, but after that, it completely changed my perspective on how I see religion, everything, spirituality. Like I know for some atheists that's like a buzzword, or it's like a meaningless term, but it changed my perspective on how I see all those things. And religion itself, like in the studies, they talk about relating the experience to they say mystics throughout the ages, meaning like the in Christianity you have the direct revelation of the Holy Spirit, or in Buddhism you have nirvana, and all these religions you have this like highly spiritual state that they have a term for. And so like that's what they related to, man, that it's like a phenomenon in consciousness that science is barely fucking picking at and learning about.
Sure, but I think I would think that the psychedelic experience is tapping into something much more powerful and legitimate than I think religion is, right? Like I almost think of the religious experience as parroting or imitating a psychonaut experience. Whereas I think a psychonaut is like a person tripping is in a really different headspace, right? Where like their whole sensories are because there's a whole spectrum. Because like that is my experience. Like I wrote a whole, like I had a really crazy trip. It was like I don't know if it was the heroic dose, but it was definitely like
Definitely a breakthrough.
It's definitely a breakthrough dose for me. And I wrote like this manifesto. It's called the Mutualist Manifesto. It's like 55 pages, and I wrote it in like 3 days, and it was like in code. It was like if you read it one way, it was like one thing, but then if you read the camel case, I like laced other messages in there. But it was really like, it was like this profound, like, to me, I thought I had like found a new, something that would like reorient the way I related to others, like forever. And maybe in a way it probably did. But yeah, I think that's like I wouldn't necessarily, because it's so weird. Like it doesn't bother me that people use like say mystic or spiritual language for that type of experience, because I think it is genuinely the experience, right? I wouldn't equate it to religious experience, because I think they're doing like some phony bargain brand, fake it until you make it type of thing. But it doesn't bother me that they use the same experiential language.
I think you're just like, you're kind of thinking of it in terms like nowadays. Like I think the way they kind of talk about it in the peer reviewed like material, if you go into it, and I would love to send it to you so you can check it out yourself. But
Sure.
you know, like we were talking about like the origins of the religion. So like it's not like the religion is trying to parrot this. It's that this phenomenon may be the root of the religion itself. Like you know, if you consider that Christ, maybe I know people doubt his existence, but we don't even have to use Jesus, but Gautama, the founder of Buddhism, you know, he may have had this phenomenon occur, and what as a kind of like what's the word? Not bypass, but as a result, you have the religion that's born from that phenomenon. It could have been true with Christ too, that you know he had this experience and you know, but followed his a religion. So it's not really and if you look into a lot of the practices, spiritual disciplines like hesychasm, they were about contemplation. In other words, you don't necessarily have to take psychedelics to do it, but to get there. But there may be a natural way to do it.
And also psychedelics don't always do it. Oftentimes you need to meditate and do a lot of deep thinking on psychedelics in order to get into the right headspace. Yeah, there's such a wide variety of experiences, right? And we're specifically talking about like these supposed spiritual states of mind where you're feeling enlightened, more aware, you know.
Well, what I would say about that is like the phenomenon itself, like people, like they can be. I think they reside on a spectrum. So like, let's say you grow up like I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't very religious myself, and a lot of people can have something unique to them. So like I saw Bill Hicks at the as I was approaching the height of the trip, the comedian, you know. But if you're a devout Christian, you might see Christ on the cross. If you're a Muslim, you might see Muhammad, or you might see Ganesh if you're a Hindu, so on and so forth. But there is a point beyond all that where it's no longer about your history, you know, your experience that you've gathered throughout your life. It has nothing to do. They call this ego death, and it has nothing to do with your personal history. It seems to be transpersonal, like something just beyond, you know, your individual self, so that you can relate to it. So when I had this experience, I reading the writings of mystics, I could relate to, you know, people who've had it thousands of years ago, because it seems to be like a universal phenomenon in consciousness, that it's not really particular to yourself. Like it's something that
but that's not.
I think there's a lot more variation. I think there's a lot of these different kinds of feelings, and some of them are similar, some of them are very similar, and a lot of them are very different. DMT, for instance, people report getting, you know, full closed-eye visuals, totally entering a different space, but they're still aware of their body. They don't go through ego death in the same way that other drugs, in order to get to that same visual hallucinatory state, your ego pretty
Yeah.
much gets destroyed.
Or I had
You're
it.
no
I remember
longer
like
aware of yourself.
like a profound ego death experience was like I was on. I don't know. There's like it was one of those fucking mild psychedelics you could take. Like you could get like a head shop when we were coming up. I forget.
Salvia?
Yeah, it was salvia or some shit like that.
Oh, that's one of the strongest ones. If you do a heavy dose.
And what fucking happened was, I was sitting there when I took the shit and I couldn't move. And so
Yeah, that's a common one with that one.
And so my roommate took a piece of like cereal. it was like one piece of cereal, and he like sat it on my leg, and I couldn't do a fucking thing about it. And I remember like just the hilarity of it. Like we were all laughing and I couldn't stop laughing. But it was like this really fucking super profound moment to me, because it was like, no matter how hard I try, I cannot. And you you felt like holy shit, I'm not shit. Like I'm not shit. Like I literally can't move this little fucking cereal. It seems so absurd, but it was so profound because it's just the tiniest little thing, and you're like, fuck, I can't. And then everybody's sitting around laughing about it, and you're like, this kind of isn't funny. Like I can't control this right now. I don't know why, but yeah, but my thing is like, I think that's so much more productive to talk about like what is ego death, what is, what research do we have on it, what are all the different ways of getting there, because to me it always comes back to something physical. Like I don't see it as something supernatural, and to me that's not a problem. It's just that I think that there's this other aspect of our consciousness that we don't tap into a lot, because it's not necessarily, for whatever reason, maybe we'd be better off if we did, but for whatever reason it didn't become part of the sort of, I think for maybe this is a bad thing, right? But maybe we evolved towards economics, right? We evolved to grind, right? So we evolved
I
towards...
think we have a great explanation for what these are, and it's simply different parts of the brain that normally don't communicate each other.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be communicating with each other in order to process reality in the way that we've evolved to process
Right, and that's
it.
what I'm saying. Now we live like where most people, regardless of your culture, your brain needs to be pretty productive throughout the day. Like if you're not doing the Western thing, you're still hunting, gathering, family, social relationships.
Yeah, there's a reason why the monks sitting in a cave for years are the ones who reach spiritual enlightenment.
Right, right. Most people ain't got time for that shit. Right. So,
I mean, to me, it sounds like you've kept, instead of, getting hit with a rail spike and fundamentally altering your consciousness, you've chemically Phineas gauged yourself. Like, I don't mean that to be like mean or anything, or like, denigrate the experience. I'm sure it's like pretty
No, I think
wild.
that makes it great. I think that makes it great because it means we can it's somewhat repeatable. It's reliable. It's like real.
We can create new drugs.
We can we can make new and better drugs.
For my depression,
Yes.
but I mean, like,
Exactly.
it doesn't necessarily for me like bring me to the revelation that the spiritual is more likely.
Well, I want to be able to, select which hallucinations you get.
Me
right?
too.
So if you just want a fun, pretty look at the swirly colors trip, then you can do that. And if you want this really intense, feel yourself dissolve away into nothingness, and then something else weird happens, then you can do that too.
Well, also, I do think there's
I
a lot
think the
of...
problem is it's so complicated, and there's so many different ways in which plants and drugs interact with our chemistry.
Instead of looking for something specific, like when you talk about the complete dissolving, there is a sense of like you're seeing every single permutation, like every possibility that could ever exist.
You're not though.
Simultaneously, but that's the sense in the experience, and
is the sense, and you can isolate for that too.
And so like when you say supernatural, like I know I wouldn't
The sense of oneness and like
Yeah,
unity and
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 I
enlightenment.
wouldn't-
You feel like you know everything. You feel like you're like totally aware
Yeah.
that like everything's infinite love.
yeah, infinite love is there too. I felt a sense of infinite love, and there is a sense of like you could call it omniscience. Yeah, like everything is there, like all past, all future, collapse into the moment. And when people describe it, they invariably reach for those type of metaphors. Like I felt like I transcended space and time, you know, like
God,
and-
the same eyes through which I saw God,
yeah.
or
So
the same eyes through which God saw me.
and even the professionals will say that it's a biological normal experience, that it may be ingrained in us. We evolved with it throughout history. That's why it's been going on for millennia.
I see. Yeah.
And so like I wouldn't call it supernatural in the sense of like you're violating the laws of physics, you know, but there is
It's more like this is a separate. This is something beyond. You know, this is the cream of the crop when it comes to
And
things
so,
you
like,
can experience, states of consciousness you can be in.
Yes, yeah. There's the state where you can get to where you can literally in that
The white
state
light
where,
of LSD,
yeah,
or
where you're
the,
seeing all time, past and future, like all it's all there.
See, what do you think though? I think if we got people more into that, in whether it was on their own or safely or in community, I think we'd have less of the traditional religion, because people would tap into the real. We get together on Sunday and dose.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was on Amy Newman's
People do
channel
that.
about she mentioned that how can we have this experience and not associate it with religion, kind of like a secularized, you know, I don't know, a psychedelic
Community
upbringing
group.
of some kind of you know, topic or whatever, it's a new trend. But a lot of times when people have it, they fall back on religious vocabulary, you know, like because I think it's because the religion may be intertwined with this phenomenon that, you know.
I see.
Yeah. So like,
I just remember your name. We were chatting in, I don't remember whose stream it was, like months ago, and you were telling me about you know how you explored psychedelics. I think we talked about Terrence McKenna a bit because I used to love him.
Yeah, Lena's been bringing up.
I've got a lot of problems with some of the stuff he said that I think is just anti-scientific.
Like the Stone Ape hypothesis.
No, like not even that. Like that was a cool hypothesis. Obviously, has problems with it and doesn't quite fit the data. But no, like he said a lot of things just about culture, like his anti-establishment take. Wasn't exactly leftist. It was more just like reject culture entirely, and I think it just opened up a lot of avenues to
like culture is not your
problematic pseudoscience, which it's true, right? Like, and I certainly think that the current, you know, imperialist neoliberal late stage capitalism isn't our friend. But like, like some of the things he said about science and equating it to religion and
if you don't have a plan, you become part of someone else's plan.
No, that was a good one. I like that. I like that for sure.
So I was going to say that the trip I wrote about was like mutualism, and you know, I was still a Christian at the time.
Can you flesh that out?
But it was essentially the foundation that I should start my relationships with the assumption that the person I'm dealing with has the same needs as I do. And that was like profound to me. Like it was just simple shit. Like if I'm hungry and I'm like, yo, pizza sounds good, chances are my fucking roommates are also stoned and hungry, and they'd also like to get a pizza. Yo, y'all want to go in on the pizza? You know what I mean? We're kind of good.
Yeah, it can feel like telepathy when it's really strong, but you know, it's just that expression.
Have you heard
of
about?
connection?
Yeah, it was
empathy.
literally like rediscovering the golden rule on the trip. But what was interesting was like, I don't know, we were able to communicate about it with people who were there with us that like weren't tripping, and then like I don't know, I wrote about it, but that's how it was. It felt like a whole theory I had to write about, like, yo, we got the whole thing fucked up. Like, you need to start your relation. Just, yo, you're talking to a person, bro. They got this. But it was real. It was like really profound, and it stuck with me. And I think it probably because you know, the way I had grown up, I had never really thought about what it meant to relate to other people. Also had read I and Thou by Martin Buber, which is like a Christian mystic text. And I think that was probably coming up at that time too. But yeah, I do think there's a lot there to Amy Newman's point. Like I think I don't know, right? I think science, for lack of a better expression, is sort of like the cat's out of the bag. And you know, there's good reason that people want, you know, things that hold up to data and investigation. But I think we could use that to try to create reliable conscious expansion is the way I think about it. And I think that's the goal of some of those studies.
The what they emphasize in the studies that I find interesting is I don't know if you ever heard of the perennial philosophy, but you know, they see these the phenomenon as being rooted in every major religion. So like you know, like I said, the Nirvana, the Holy Spirit, Samadhi, Buddhism, and so like even mystics. You mentioned the Christian mystic. When a mystic has this experience, they don't think like, oh, this is exclusive to my religion. This is only part of Christianity. They see beyond that, and they see like, oh, okay, what happened to me also happened to the Hindu, also happened to Gautama. You know, they don't see it as something exclusive to one religion. And so I think a beautiful message that might come about, maybe you might disagree with it, is that you can harmonize. You know, you can. There may be a way for all the major religions to come together in a unity in that one phenomenon in consciousness, because it doesn't belong to any single religion. It's it's something writ in the language of the universe itself. It's something. It's an expression of reality itself. And religion may have come as a byproduct from it, but I think there's like if you can find harmony and love through this, then you know what's wrong with that? Because I hear atheists sometimes, especially like Matt. I know you might not agree with Matt Dillahunty, but he talks about like the eradication of religion, like we need to abolish it. You know,
we're fully on board with that. We think it's deeply problematic for the reason that false beliefs are just inherently dangerous, and this is why I push back against McKenna. And this is my problem with the psychedelic community is the pseudoscience in it, because I think pseudoscience is inherently dangerous. I think if you understand what science is and how it relates to our endeavors and goals, then you realize like, we need the best science possible. We can't be allowing bad ideas to permeate through our communities.
I agree.
We're all interconnected. We all need to get on the same page.
I think it might be useful to recall. I think it might be useful to recall that religions tend to have rites, and the reason that they have rites is to inspire an altered state, from whether it's the Bacchae or communion.
Sure.
Or just the cathedrals,
or any of those things. They are meant to inspire an altered state.
Mm-hmm.
They are meant to inspire an appreciation of the numinous. They are meant to do that. That's, if you've ever been to a charismatic Christian service, that's why people are passing out on the floor and speaking in tongues and picking up serpents and all of these things. These are altered states. Altered states by themselves are not, are revelatory for the person that undergoes one and undergoes that experience. The question is the framework under which they undergo that experience and what they do with it afterwards. Not everybody is going to come out with a feeling of oneness with the universe. Not everyone is going to do that if the desired goal of achieving that altered state is oneness with God, oneness with the God that's written down in the text.
Right.
Or that was perceived on some trip when it was just a figment of your imagination.
I think you need to be very, very careful. Yes, I've I've done lots of psychedelics, and not recently, but in my past, I certainly was. I'm an aging hippie. And yes, I have had those experiences, and I came out in a different place. But if I had gone all in and achieved that sort of state within the framework of Christianity, I would probably be preaching the gospel.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think the thing.
I think it's dangerous to say that anything, whether it's a chemical or whether it is internal chemistry produced through praxis, which is equally great. I mean, I can imagine that Hildegard von Bingen was dropping acid, but she certainly was a Christian mystic who produced some of the most beautiful music ever, and was in touch with that numinous place. But there is no guarantee that someone in touch with that numinous place is going to come out of the experience with a heart open enough to lead other people there, regardless of their own practices. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is why the therapeutic model for engaging with psychedelics is, I think, the only real way that we should be going about this, at least for the start, right? Like, I like the idea of doing community trips and all this, but I think it just introduces way too many variables, especially if we understand it to be chemistry inside one's head.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
My
having
thing
the isolated, safe experience.
Yeah.
In the proper setting is
Johns Hopkins
with the
is
intention of using it not to connect with some pseudoscientific idea, but rather to look inwards and to become more compassionate and
they're recruiting
experience
volunteers
the
right now.
numinous.
Are they really?
Yeah, you can sign up, and if you
Go sign up, people.
if you pass the screening test, you can go down there and they'll dose you, and it's medical professionals standing by. I think they prep you. I think a week before they dose you, but to kind of give you an idea of what may happen, but they don't try to influence you in any particular direction.
Sure, and I might have criticisms of it, but check out the link I sent because
that's the distinction between Ken Kesey and Tim Leary, really.
Yeah. All right, guys.
I got an argument they were having years ago.
Guys,
I mean, Leary and Alpert, they were literally conducting the study within the confines of Harvard University. They were doing that stuff with acid. Alpert got himself kicked out and became Barbara Ramdas. But Ken Kesey was the merry prankster, wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Sometimes a Great Notion, great novelist and all of this stuff. But his idea was drop and get on the bus, take a tour of the country and be crazy that way. There are all sorts of different.
Yeah, don't take
Leary's thing was all set and setting, and Kesey's thing was we have to learn how to function on acid.
Yeah, I came up on the set and setting. All right, I gotta end this stream because it's midnight here.
Let me just link that YouTube channel.
You should drop it in the live chat, Lena.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And then I'll let everybody give their closing thoughts, and I'll let Steph go first. Go ahead, Steph.
I'm done. I don't have any.
All right.
Any closing thoughts? Really?
Nitty. I don't know if Nitty's intentionally had his hand up, but
my hand thing is stuck up.
Oh.
You click it again and it'll go down.
Yeah.
Oh.
Flick it.
Oh, there we go. Did it go away?
No.
Damn it.
Well, there it is. There it is.
I have one thing.
Anyway, all right.
Go ahead, Nitty.
I mean, what we were talking about earlier, I think it's just so important to help people see that a lot of Christian belief in practice is that holy hamster wheel and self-denigration that they just don't need. You don't need that. Like you're going to be a better
Yeah,
person without
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
yeah,
Totally. And I
so
think that's even my one thing with I'd be happy to find this secular way in which everybody agrees that we can all tap into, a consciousness that's inspires us to be our better selves. I don't think
sure.
I don't think you're gonna have a problem with the atheist and the secular community agreeing to that. I think the problem is the religions are not going to permit a universal framework. And I think to your point, that's because they want everybody on that goddamn holy hamster wheel.
Well, but here's the other thing. I think a lot of people just don't. You're mentally trained to not see it for what it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it becomes so in your cultural understanding of your belief and practice that this is just what you do. Right?
Yes.
It's, until you're out of it, you just don't see it that way.
Absolutely. And it's it's crazy to me too, because they get so into the truth and it's like they don't you don't see it. They've been lied to the whole time. All right, Lena, go ahead.
That was a great point, Snitty. Is it Kathy?
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah, we should chat more. Yeah. And you can definitely stay after
not only chat more
in the stream. But go ahead.
But if you're down to review an actual, Terrence McKenna lecture, we could do the whole, pause the tape thing on it.
Oh yeah, no man, I know there's a lot of hours of him out there, man. I pretty much listen to every single one out there, man. I used to be really obsessed with the guy.
I keep finding new ones. I'm shocked by how much he's on the internet.
There's one called Plants, Consciousness, and Transformation. So it's like an 8-hour one, but I've listened to it like multiple times.
Or maybe we'll save it. Maybe that's the one we'll do together.
Yeah.
Hit me up on. Do you have Discord?
I think I did. I have to find it, but man.
Well, you're in Gather, so we got you.
Cafe is the same YouTube handle I use, man. You can message me there if you want. I have videos of like me calling into the atheist experience and where I try to mention this stuff to Matt Dillahunty, and of course he hung up on me. You
didn't give that any time. I love it.
Yeah,
he's addressed the issue, I think, substantially. I don't think any more needs to be said on it.
I don't think so, man, because I called him like a year prior to that, and he told me he'll look into it. And when I called him a year later, he was just as naive as he was the year prior. So I don't think he's addressed it. And like one time someone asked Bishop Robert Barron to comment on the studies at Johns Hopkins. He's like, well, what do you want me to say? And he didn't understand how it's related, and I think it's because he hasn't had the experience for himself. So of course,
I'm sure he has.
Yes, sure, yes, actually.
Well, but that's the thing. The way he described it.
Told you about his strawberries.
No, well, so he had the debate with. I know we said we were going to end it.
You're right.
Can we keep? Okay. He had the debate with Jordan Peterson, and then after that, he had a review, and he described his acid trip. That's the only.
There you go.
On-air case I've been able to find of Matt talking about his trip, and like, what was the thing he said? Pink. He saw a pink elephant.
Super strawberries.
It or whatever it was. Yeah, it doesn't sound to me like he had.
Yeah, it wasn't
some of the stronger level. Yeah. Like when you have total.
Come on now.
Well, no, when you can no longer distinguish the outside reality, right? When you're entirely in a different world.
Because if you're relating to, he's still within the subject-object dichotomy, and
that's the thing, and that's the duality aspect.
Yeah,
this weird sense of being.
Yeah,
but that's presumptuous of you. You don't know. You only know what he was communicating.
From what he communicated,
you presume it was actual.
What his actual
and he didn't
was at the time,
and he didn't use any of the language that psychonauts typically use to describe the the non-dual
It was
states.
all contained within the subject-object dichotomy. Like a lot of these high spiritual experiences, they talk about non-dualism, which is the complete breakdown of that subject-object dichotomy, which he didn't even address whatsoever. So I really doubt that Matt's ever had this experience. He may have had psychedelics, but he's never had a full-blown psychedelic experience.
No true Christian.
I mean, it gets weird as you enter the breakthrough. Like you don't know whether you're you or you're the experience that's happening. Like you can't distinguish between your thoughts and the visuals. Like your thoughts start to get mixed up in the synesthesia. So you're feeling and thinking and but your thoughts aren't even contained to normal thoughts.
Yeah,
they're
the
all
ego's
over
not
the
even
place.
there.
All right,
Like,
guys,
everything just gets blurred.
We can you guys can hang out. Let me just end this stream. You guys can come hang out and gather. Appreciate you. I gotta move and keep moving on stuff. So thanks everybody so much for tuning in. This was super fun, and till next time. That's not the end screen. Poof.
Zach, why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the house not a home. Sunshine cause she heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all.